It's great to be here.
Wonderful. So I think we've got, looks like lots of people on the call today, so why don't we get started?
All right. Well, thanks, Marina, and hello, everybody. I am glad that you are here today, and if you're here today, it's probably because you know the value of reaching your potential. Because when you do, you know that you're going to make that big difference that you want to make in the lives of those people around you and in those that need you most. However, I know that most of you probably feel like you spend your days chasing fires and solving everybody else's problems, and then you get to the end of your day and you feel as if you didn't get anywhere. I'm a leadership development coach, and I give you both the inner and outer tools to turn that around so that you can move from surviving to thriving. Today we're going to talk about boosting your confidence, and I'm going to give you both inner and outer tools. More on that to come, and you'll get to know a little bit more about me as we go through the webinar. Now, Marina did say, don't worry about taking notes. You'll get the full slides. You will also get a link at the end to a one-page visual summary PDF. So relax. I've, taken the notes for you. However, having said that, don't be afraid to take some notes. That's often how we stay focused and learn best. I just don't want you to worry about missing anything. So I've got you covered there. Like I say, we'll share that link at the end. But do take some notes of things that just strike you and can help you boost your own confidence. So the title of this session is 4 Confidence Boosts to Reach Your Full Potential. What does that mean to you to reach your full potential? If you were to reach your full potential, what would you be doing? What impact would you be having? What position might you be in? How would that be any different than now? And then I want you to think, what would it take for you to reach your full potential? The reality is that in order for you to reach your full potential, there's probably going to be some hurdles along the way. There's going to be challenges and opposition, and it's going to require a ton of hard work. All of those things are the hurdles that can get in your way of achieving your full potential if you let them. But it doesn't have to be that way. The trick is to navigate those hurdles with a sense of confidence that you can handle it. Not that it's going to be easy or perfect or a walk in the park, but knowing full well that there will be challenges along the way and the confidence that you will be able to overcome those challenges. It isn't always easy to reach your full potential, but with confidence it becomes more manageable. So confidence becomes your secret power. So think about this question as we go through today's webinar. If your confidence was boosted, what would you be able to achieve? Maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's just feeling better in the job you're doing. Maybe it's taking more training. If you are taking a few of those notes, write that down now. If your confidence was boosted, what would you be able to achieve? Let's start talking about confidence. Confidence is a belief in yourself and what you can do. It's about trust and faith and believing in your skills and talents and what you have to offer, in your ability to learn more, and in your potential. And confidence comes from your head and your heart. It's not from outside of you. Confidence is not what other people think you can do. It's not what other people think you can learn or what other people believe your potential is. Confidence comes from what you believe. Your secret power is you, not the person sitting beside you, not the person down the hall, not your boss or what your mother or teacher said you were supposed to be when you grew up. It is uniquely, distinctly, and yes, powerfully you. Remember, confidence comes from within you, inside your head and in your heart. And when you start to change what's going on inside your head and heart, you'll be connecting to that inner power. And almost magically, you're going to start to feel more confident. It's that inner level of confidence that will allow you to move forward. Let me tell you a little bit of story. In 1999, I was new to leadership. This picture is probably somewhere around 1993. I was quite a bit younger than I am now, and I had no leadership training. I had zero support around me. My boss was hours and hours away from me. Within that first year, I was challenged many times. But the biggest challenge came when the staff decided, not just within the programs that I was supervising, but across the entire province, that they wanted to unionize. I was suddenly thrown into the chaos of union negotiations. I had to learn to manage in a bit of a hostile environment, and I had to grow up real fast. To say at that point in time I lacked confidence is probably an understatement. Over the course of the following year, I had many conversations with my director, many meetings, and many tearful episodes on the phone with my friend at night, and many more conversations with my husband. The thing is, through all of that, not only did I manage to survive, but I managed to start thriving as well. I realized that if I was going to do this thing called leadership, I'd better get some help real fast. I started to read books on management and leadership and personal development. I took any training sessions I could find. I registered to go back to school, and over the course of the next 8, yes, it took me 8 years, I finished my management degree. I didn't know it at the time, but a lot of that personal development work I was doing alongside of my training was teaching me about mindsets and how my thinking impacted my experience. I realized that if I wanted a different experience, I had to change my thinking. I grew my courage by stepping into new territory, taking on new projects, developing my skills, sitting on new committees and boards. I also quit smoking. I began working out. I started lifting a few weights. I developed a daily yoga routine. I even took adult swimming lessons at one point. In the process, I lost a fair bit of extra weight, and all of that allowed me to stand up taller and more confidently. Those 4 things, the training I took, the shifts in how I was thinking, the courage to step outside my comfort zone, and yes, even my body posture, are all things that helped me to develop the confidence to successfully lead my teams. These things that helped me become a more confident person, those 4 things I just told you about, the training I took, increasing my competency level, watching my thoughts, having that right mindset, acting courageously, and standing with more confidence. Those 4 things worked inside of me to become a more confident person. I was developing my inner confidence, and it's those same 4 things that are going to help you to boost your confidence. Competency, mindset, courage, and posture. So as you think about what it's going to take to reach your full potential, you may be thinking about some things you will need to do and some of those hurdles that we talked about before. So just kind of make a note where you're writing down stuff. If you are going to reach your full potential, which one of these might you start on? And Marina, I'll just double check with you right now to make sure we're good to keep rolling and no questions or concerns.
Absolutely, we're doing great. And I'll just remind everyone quickly that you can submit your questions in the question box right through today's session. And also just a quick reminder that we are recording everything. You will get that recording tomorrow morning. Great, so I think we can carry on. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, yep, perfect. Okay, so all of those things, taking some training, shifting your thinking, stretching outside your comfort zone, and working on your posture are going to shift your confidence. And remember, you're going to be developing that level of inner confidence, because let's face it, if you're going to be the leaders in your community or your organization, if you want to be a trendsetter or a visionary, if you want to lead yourself, your team, or even your family, you're going to need to do it with a level of confidence. You will need the confidence to step outside your comfort zone with your head held high and move forward. You're not going to get that level of confidence by waiting for someone else to give it to you. Your board chair, your boss, your partner, the patrons that walk in the door are not going to give you permission to be confident. Something they say or do is not magically going to make you feel more sure of yourself. To remove doubt and fear and hesitation requires you to reach inside of you. Confidence is an inner game. Confidence comes from your thoughts and your feelings and managing those thoughts and feelings when they show up. Where do we start? I'm going to start with the mindset shift part. To gain inner confidence, you're going to have to change the way you're thinking. And sometimes that's a little bit scary. To achieve your fullest potential, you got to get out of your comfort zone. And you might have to do some things that are scary and awkward and weird. And the problem is that we resist that. Fear often gets in our way of achieving our full potential. But what's the purpose of fear? Well, here's the thing. In the past, it was certainly different than it is now. And so we're going to take a little bit of a detour here and take a little bit of a history lesson on fear. Back in the day of our ancestors, getting out of our comfort zone meant leaving our cave or our tent or our hut. And we left our comfort zone basically when we got hungry or cold. We needed some more furs, or we needed to go get some meat. And so we went out hunting and gathering. And what might have happened for our ancestors is we started to get that spidey sense that something was going wrong. The knot in your stomach, the tightening in your chest, the tingle across your back, the sweaty palms and pits. Your heart might have started racing. Your throat would get dry. You bet. Fear. That fear response was a physiological response of a warning sign of a potential physical threat. There might have been a wild animal breathing down your neck. Could have been a storm brewing. Perhaps the neighboring warrior was coming to attack you. And all of those reactions sent you scurrying back to safety, back to our comfort zone. Because here's the thing, if you kept going, you likely would have faced death. And if you wanted to keep procreating and keep your species alive and strong, you had to stay safe. So the purpose of fear back in the day for our ancestors was survival. Things are a little bit different now. Moving out of our comfort zone now might mean leaving our office. We get in that cozy place where we feel safe. Getting outside of our comfort zone isn't hunting and gathering. If we're hungry or cold, we simply reach for our sweater or we head to the fridge and grab some food. Probably the scariest thing is a trip to the supermarket, and we won't talk about that right now. But generally, it's not a fearful experience. Now getting out of our comfort zone means that we're going to say or do something. We might have to address an issue with the staff. Perhaps we have an email to send that we're a little bit uncomfortable about. Might be starting a new program or closing another one. Maybe we need to say no to someone or set a boundary. Perhaps we need to say yes to a new adventure. The thing is, all of those things do the same thing that happened to our ancestors. We have the same physiological response that they felt when they left their cave. We get a knot in our stomach. We get a tightening in our chest. We get a tingle across the back of our neck. We have the sweaty palms and pits. Our heart starts to race. Our throat gets dry. We feel fear. But now, it's not a physical threat that's happening. It's an emotional threat. What's making us have that fear reaction is that fear of being abandoned, being judged, or being rejected. They might not like what I have to say. They might quit. People might not support me. People might think I'm an idiot. Others will think I don't know what I'm talking about. And it's that emotional threat that does the same thing that the physical threat did to our ancestors. It sends us scurrying back to our comfort zone. Here's the problem, though. Our comfort zone really isn't comfortable. When we're hanging out in our comfort zone, we are tolerating other people's bullying. We're settling for less than a stellar job. We're complying with policies and rules and processes that hinder our work. We shut down, shut up, withdraw, check out. Just going to do my job, and then I'm going to go home. Rather than stepping out courageously and confidently, we wimp out. We play it safe. We're afraid to take risks. We certainly aren't bold or daring. We just go along with the crowd. The thing is, though, it's on the other side of fear that we reach our potential. That's not death out there anymore. It's where our potential exists and the real living happens. This is where we experience our greatest success. This is where we feel most fulfilled. This is where we begin to love what we do and do our best work. The purpose of fear now is that it's pointing us to our full potential. When we experience fear now, it's not there to keep us alive. It's actually giving us a sense of direction. 99% of the time when you feel fear, it's because you're moving towards what you're truly capable of. So let me give it to you in another way. I'll give you an example. You're hanging out in your little comfort zone in your office, all's going well, and then you have an urge. Perhaps that urge is to apply on a new contract, address an issue with a coworker, take some training. Maybe it's apply on a promotion or a new job, start a new program. To act on any of those urges means you have to leave your comfort zone. You're going to need to say or do something. So you step out of your comfort zone and you enter that place that is certainly not very comfortable. That discomfort zone is where maybe you're speaking at a community meeting instead of just a staff meeting. Rather than just writing an article for your company newsletter, you're now asked to write an article for the community newsletter. And what happens is you have that physiological reaction. The knot in your stomach, the tightening in your chest, the tingle across the back of your neck, sweaty palms and pits. Your heart starts to race. Your throat goes dry. And what do you start thinking? I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough skills. I haven't had enough experience. Oh my goodness, my grammar and spelling suck. And so what do? You make a whole bunch of excuses why you can't do it. I'm too busy. So-and-so would be better for the job. Yet, here's the thing. If you actually move through that fear, your skills grow, your comfort at doing the task grows, and so does your comfort zone. Instead of that tiny circle of things that you were comfortable doing, you now have a wider circle of things that you find easy, even perhaps enjoyable. And your discomfort zone is further out than it was before. Years ago, I used to go to our local pool every summer to go for aquafit lessons. And at the beginning of aquafit, we would hang out in the shallow end and do our lengths across the pool and do our cardio. And then about halfway through, she'd move to the deep end. And I hung back out at the shallow end. I couldn't swim. I was terrified of the deep end. And so at some point, I decided I'm going to go take some adult swimming lessons. And of course, if any of you have done this, you know what it's like. It's the same as the kids. We start out in the shallow end, and then they move us to the deeper end, but we still have our life jackets on and our boogie boards, and eventually we take our life jackets off, and then they tell us to let go of the side of the pool. By the end of 2 sets, I won't lie to you, it took me 2 sets of adult swimming lessons, I was diving into the deep end. And that's the trick. When we stretch outside of our comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. I call it your zone of potential. You want to stretch to the point of feeling uncomfortable, like an elastic, not to the point of snapping. If I'd been forced to dive into the deep end my first night of adult lessons, I would have shut down and never come back again. I want you to think about this for a moment. What have you done that's been uncomfortable but worth it? Maybe it's climbed a mountain. Maybe it's asked for help. Maybe you went back to school. Maybe you applied in a new position. Make a note of it because it's a good reminder for you. What have you done that has been uncomfortable but worth it? Just a quick check-in, Marina, all good?
Yes, all good, Kathy. Thank you.
Okay, yep. All right. As you're writing that down, I'm going to have a quick drink. Now, here's the thing. It takes courage to get outside of our comfort zone. And this is often where the confusion comes in. We wait to do things until we feel confident. We hold off until we're ready. But as you've seen, fear points us in a direction. When we feel the fear, we actually need to get moving. That's where that saying, lean into fear, comes in. Think about it for a moment in leadership. One of the traits of successful leaders is that they have a higher level of self-confidence. They're self-assured. That level of confidence did not come from hanging out in their comfort zone. Leaders get that degree of confidence by being brave and taking risks. They become more confident by boldly doing things that are uncomfortable, awkward, and yes, even scary. The more times they push outside of their comfort zone, the bigger their comfort zone becomes. A successful leader progressively becomes more confident at more things. They do that by daring to do new things. They become a confident leader by first becoming courageous. By being courageous, they've increased their confidence. That increased confidence boosts their courage. The more times that you or anybody else steps outside their comfort zone, the more confidence you gain. Each time you speak in public, voice your opinion, try a new task, travel farther, you build confidence. That increased confidence, of course, gives you more courage to step further outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's speaking to larger groups. Maybe it's being more bold and sharing your opinion more often, or your innovative idea, or the challenge that you're going through. As your courage grows, you start to seek out new things. Suddenly, you realize that you have tremendous confidence. But it started out first with stepping out courageously. Courage and confidence go hand in hand. When you start with courage, being brave, daring to take a risk, boldly doing something even though you feel uncomfortable, you'll find that confidence shows up not much further behind. And that's when you're stepping into your zone of potential. Think for a moment, what's your zone of potential? Again, we come back to the title of the webinar. The point in boosting your confidence is so that you can reach your potential. Look back to what you wrote down at the beginning of the webinar. If you were to reach your full potential, what would you be doing? Is it still the same as you wrote down at the beginning of the webinar, or have you started to shift your thoughts about maybe what's possible for you if you get out of your comfort zone? So write it down again, circle it, make a star beside it. What is in your zone of potential? What is it that you would be capable of if you stepped outside your comfort zone? Remember, it's moving into that zone of potential that the magic happens. So now that we've had that big detour into fear in your comfort zone, let's go back to where we were before we did that detour. The 4 ways to improve your confidence. I call them confidence hacks. Increasing your competency, shifting your mindset, being courageous, and that whole piece around your posture. Let's go through these in more detail now. So the first confidence hack, know you can. It's about competency. In order to increase your confidence, you need to feel competent. That means you need to know how to do something. You need the knowledge and you have to have the skill. If I was to just simply hand you a ball of yarn and a knitting needle and you'd never been taught how to knit, you probably couldn't make a sweater. However, if you went and sat with your grandma for a while, read a book or two, watched some YouTube videos, you might have a better chance of doing it. But you need the information on how to do it and then the skill of it to do it first. To feel confident, you need to feel competent. When I became manager, I was pretty proud of the fact that I had the opportunity to travel to the city and partake in some big meetings. I would sit around the boardroom table, and although I was pretty nervous, I could put my voice into the conversation. I knew my stuff about my programs and clients. I was competent in the areas of parenting, FASD, community development, the child protection system. However, when the meetings were done and we went out for supper, the fear would start to creep in. I'd wish for ways to get out of the business supper part of things. My challenge was I hadn't spent a lot of time in fancy restaurants prior to moving into leadership positions. I wasn't cultured. I grew up on a farm. I was a 4-H girl who knew her way around a corral, and I could drive a tractor in the field. But I had spent very little time in fancy restaurants. A treat for my siblings and I was, instead of the picnic lunch when we headed to town, was when my parents took us to A&W. So when it came time to attend the business dinners, I didn't know how to order. I got away for the most part with simply sticking to whatever the chicken dish of the day was, but when it came to ordering wine, I felt absolutely foolish. Not only did I not know anything about wine, I couldn't pronounce it. I lacked the confidence to order because I didn't have the knowledge, the skills, or the experience in ordering at higher-end restaurants. And that made me feel inferior to my colleagues. So when we're contemplating our ability to do a job, we need to think broadly. Part of it certainly is, do we have the prescribed credentials? But it's more than that. I mean, think back to my wine story. One of the other things that I struggled with was networking. I hated small talk, and I didn't know what to do with myself at breaks, during the meetings, or at conferences. So what did I do? I knew that I needed to figure that out. I headed to the local library, got my hands on several books on networking, read them ferociously, learned some tips and tricks to work the room. My competence in the area of networking increased. Therefore, so did my confidence. So when you consider your level of confidence and competence in your role or in a role you aspire to be in, ask yourself, can I actually do the job? I mean, do I have the skills and talents and ability? What basic training will I need to meet the requirements? And then here's the other one. What extra training, knowledge, or skills will help me to be even more successful? And then you need to practice, because we all know that practice makes, well, actually not necessarily perfect. If you keep practicing the same process of hiding your face in your phone every time the meeting breaks, you'll be an expert at being a wallflower. If instead you want to get good at something else, you're going to need to do what's called deliberate practice. That is practicing outside of your comfort zone. Research on experts and mastery has shown that experts are made, not born. Experts become experts by putting in a lot of practice. In fact, about 10,000 hours. So consider an expert karate instructor or a concert pianist or a surgeon or a really great leader you know. They have practiced their craft over time, putting in about 10,000 hours. That works out to about 3.5 hours a day for 10 years. That's a lot of practice. The catch is, the famous piano player was not practicing chopsticks over and over and over again. They were practicing scales that felt uncomfortable, awkward, and hard. They didn't know how to do them. They had to step outside of their comfort zone and practice them over and over and over again. The same is true for you. You need to practice your skills outside of your comfort zone. If you want to get better at networking, you can't keep practicing with the same group of 15 people for 10 years. You're going to need to go into new social situations and practice. So that's the first confidence hack. Know you can. It's the competency. In order to increase your confidence, you need to feel competent. So those of you taking notes, and I hope this is many of you for at least this part, write that down. Know I can. And then write down one thing you know you need to learn to practice to feel more competent, thus confident. So I will know I can when I practice more public speaking. I will know I can when I practice Excel spreadsheets. I will know I can when I practice more conflict resolution. So what's the area that you're needing to boost your confidence in, and what's the practice you need to do that? Confidence hack number 2, believe you can. This one's about mindset. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. If the little engine was saying, I don't think I can, I don't think I can, I don't think I can, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have tried so hard and would not have been successful. The same is true for us. Confidence is about believing in ourselves. We need to believe in our ability to learn and grow and in our potential. The problem is we spend most of our time with these crazy thoughts going on in our head. Doubt, fear, paralyzing hesitation, persistent uncertainty. Our inner dialogue is nattering at us incessantly. Are you sure? I don't think you should. That's not quite right. Oh my God, that was so stupid. What if so-and-so doesn't like that? You could be setting yourself up for a big fight. That's all of those thoughts that are going around in our heads. And it's that attitude about ourselves that counts. Mindset and attitude make a huge difference. The view you adopt of yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. Carol Dweck is a researcher at Stanford University, and she's discovered 2 mindsets connected to motivation. The first is a fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe their qualities are carved in stone. This is who I am, this is the lot I've been given, what you see is what you get. And they're going to say things like, I'm not very talented, I don't have a creative bone in my body, don't waste your time trying to teach me Excel, I'm just a dummy. You've all heard those kind of things, perhaps come into your own mouth once in a while. It's that second mindset that we can grow and cultivate, though. People with a growth mindset believe that their basic qualities can be cultivated through effort and work. Yes, it may take some time, but they believe they can develop talent. And they're going to say things like, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. It might take some time, but I'll master it. I might need to get some help, but I'll get it. And it's cultivating that growth mindset that creates the motivation to be curious. So rather than those gremlin thoughts that run amok with our confidence, we need to get control over our thoughts and then turn up the volume on our inner dialogue that's encouraging us and motivating us. Sure, it's hard, but you've got this. I can do it. I'll figure it out. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. It's that, what I call your inner guide. And it's that voice that gives you the boost of confidence when you listen to it. The catch is, you have to turn down the volume on those messages that are self-defeating and self-deprecating, and you have to turn up the volume on those voices that are encouraging you. And we'll get into that more in a minute here. Now, I want you to know this is the second confidence hack. Believe you can. So in order to increase your confidence, you need to believe in your capabilities, your potential, and your ability to grow. So write that one down. Believe I can. And then make a note, again, beside it, some place that you want to grow your confidence in. I believe I can be a writer. I believe I can handle that challenging conversation that's coming up. I believe I can set those boundaries. I believe I can do the job. Where is it that you're looking to increase your confidence that you need to work on this mindset? And make a note of that. One more drink while you're writing that down. Okay, confidence hack number 3. Act like you can. This is about leaning into that fear we talked about a few minutes ago. You need to act courageously before you feel the confidence within you. The problem is we all want to stay in our safe zone, in that comfort zone, to be cozy. And I want you to start noticing those urges to play it safe. Pay attention to when you're tolerating things or when you're tending to settle or comply or withdraw. When things got tense on my team, my comfort zone was hiding out in my office. I shut the door with the pretense of needing to get work done. But really, I was hiding out. People likely would have described me as distant and unavailable. What do? Maybe you come into work late or stay later when no one's around. Maybe you work from home. Maybe you just keep really busy, avoid people or conversations or topics. If you're pulling back and withdrawing, it's likely that you're playing it safe and you're staying in your comfort zone. But remember, courage and confidence go hand in hand, but courage comes first. You must boldly step out and be courageous. Chair the next meeting. Volunteer to take on a new position or a job or a role. Ask for a new assignment. Talk more or talk less if that's what you need to do to be more courageous. Ask for help. Admit you don't know. Those are all examples of being courageous. So that's the third confidence hack. Act like you can. In order to increase your confidence, you need to start with courage. Don't wait for confidence. Be brave and step outside your comfort zone. Confidence will follow. So make a note of that one. Act like you can. And then what I want you to do is make a note of where you can practice this later today. It might be in a conversation with a colleague. Perhaps it's when you pick your child up at daycare and you need to address that issue of the missing snow gear. Could be volunteering to do something. Think about where you pull back and how you could instead head towards fear. Just to check in, Marina, we're still doing good?
Yes, great. Thanks, Kathy.
Yep. Okay. On to the last hack. I want you to try this for a moment. Slouch over, pull your shoulders in, your head down, and imagine in this position bravely stating your opinion to someone else. Kind of hard to do, right? Now try sitting up, shoulders back, chin up, and see if you feel any different. Most of us will. We'll feel a surge of confidence as we shift our position. Now we all know that our posture sends off nonverbal messages to other people. But new research has shown that how you hold your body also sends messages to you. Messages about whether you feel confident or scared. Researcher Amy Cuddy has discovered that when you change your body posture, you can change the way you feel and behave. She's discovered that when you sit or stand in a high power pose for just 2 minutes, that it increases the testosterone in your body, which is that power hormone, and it decreases the cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So do it with me now if you can. Stand up. Make yourself as big as possible. So hands on your hips or outstretched, feet like shoulder width apart. Think of how wild animals are when they've got their back against the wall, right? Their hair is up on the back. They spread their feathers out. They make themselves really big. Now the point of this exercise is not to intimidate others. It's not to show other people that you are in power. You can sit back down now if you're standing up. But the point is to change the chemistry in your body to send messages to you. So what I want you to do as this hack is to power pose for 2 minutes in private before you have to address a difficult issue. So later today, I want you to head to the bathroom or go to your office and shut the door someplace a little bit in private. And I want you to practice power posing for 2 minutes. Time it. Set a timer on your phone because 2 minutes is much longer than you think when you're standing there like Wonder Woman. And you stand there for 2 minutes, and that physical change in your body changes the chemistry in your body, and it makes you start to feel more confident. So you do that before you go into a tough meeting, a difficult conversation, right? That's the fourth confidence hack. Stand like you can. In order to increase your confidence, you need to feel it in your body. So assume that power position and let the hormones do some work for you. You can also do the same thing when you are with people, but at a much smaller scale. You can just roll your shoulders back, lift your chin up, right? Again, those are sending messages that nonverbal to them, which is an important piece. However, what I'm talking about here is the part that's actually sending messages to you as well. In that 2 minutes, you are shifting the chemistry in your body, and those hormones are making you feel more confident. So back to your note-taking. Write that down. Stand like I can for 2 minutes before what? Make a note of where you're going to use that in the next 24 hours to boost your confidence. Perhaps in a situation that you're a little bit hesitant about taking it on. I will stand like I can for 2 minutes before I go talk to my boss. I will stand like I can for 2 minutes before I send that touchy email off. I will stand like I can for 2 minutes before I run the meeting. And I'll tell you guys, if any of you are at a conference where I am keynoting, you will find me in the bathroom standing for 2 minutes before I'm on stage. It works like magic. It's crazy stuff. So those are your 4 confidence hacks. Know you can. Believe you can. Act like you can, and stand like you can. When you use those tricks to boost your confidence, you will step out of your comfort zone and into your zone of potential. But here's a challenge that you may still have. It's those inner voices in your head. It's the doubt, the fear, the hesitation, the tendency to procrastinate, the urge to wait till the perfect time, the desire to run and hide. So I want to give you a system that's going to help you develop your courage and confidence so that you can enhance your competency and go take some training if you need it, so that you can start to believe in yourself more, so that you can start to be more courageous. And this is outlined in my book, Mastering Confidence, and Marina's going to put the link up after so you can find it. But it's helping you access that inner power, and I call this your inner guidance system. It's like your inner wisdom, that compass inside of us that points us in the direction we want to go. Problem is, most of us are so busy running from here to there, ticking off to-do lists, responding to emails, or the latest fire, that we don't take the time to connect to and listen to our inner wisdom. When we get faced with a challenge, one of those hurdles we talked about earlier, and your first thought is, oh boy, this is never going to work, or we can't do that, or this is tough, those thoughts stop you from getting outside your comfort zone. But when you slow down, connect to your inner wisdom, you may learn to start reminding yourself, I actually do have the skills, or I can learn how to do that. And it's those inner voices that give you the courage to step outside your comfort zone into that zone of possibility. So let me walk you through the system that I developed. The purpose of the system is to activate your inner guide. It's that cheerleader that we were talking about a minute ago, the one that's going to help you remember to apply those 4 confidence hacks. But you need to get connected to that voice. You do that by connecting to your thoughts, your feelings, and your body sensations. In order to get connected to those thoughts and feelings and body sensations, you need to become more mindful and aware. Now, not all of us can sit down in the middle of a meeting, put our hands up and say, wait, I need to connect to my inner guide. It's probably not going to work for you. Life keeps going despite the urge to run and hide or reach across the table and strangle somebody. You need to have something that you can do quickly and easily to get you over that fear or dread or urge to pull back. And it's called the inner guidance cycle. There are 4 steps that when you do them, and you're going to have to practice them and work on them, they're not going to come naturally or easily, I will be honest about that. But when you learn how to do them, you become more aware of the inner feelings and voices that you're having that are pulling you back, and you change them to those encouraging thoughts that are moving you forward courageously. The 4 steps of the inner guidance cycle are pause, ponder, pivot, and proceed. So if you want to become more confident, practice and master these steps. Pause. Stop and pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, and your body sensations. Ponder. Consider the messages you're thinking. pivot, shift your thoughts to more confident thoughts, and then proceed. Move forward again intentionally and mindfully. And then repeat, 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 because this cycle goes on for the rest of our lives. Let me walk you through them in a little bit more detail. So the first step is to pause. Take a step back. Pausing, taking a break, isn't something most of us do very well. We are certainly good at plowing forward, pushing on, suffering through. The problem is, when we do that, we never take the time to allow our feelings and thoughts to catch up to us. When we do pause, it gives us the opportunity to become more mindful and present to what is happening. A pause might be just simply taking a breath in the middle of a meeting. Might be going for the coffee break or to the bathroom, taking a little walk. It could be longer, such as, taking an afternoon off or sitting down and journaling. The challenge is that we often don't feel like we have the time to take a break, to pause or reflect. Yet, it's an incredibly important part in developing strong confidence. In fact, it is the first step that's necessary in increasing your confidence. Without those pauses, most of us are just reacting to whatever shows up. We aren't taking the time to choose how we want to respond or even how we want to feel. Pausing is stopping, pulling back, taking a break. By pausing, we can make some choices instead of running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Here's the thing, though. Initially, you need to schedule the pauses in or they just won't happen. This will help you to sort of build that habit of pausing. So maybe after the webinar today, set an alarm to go off on your phone several times a day. Just simply remind you to take a deep breath and pause. Remember, it's that first step in pausing that's going to allow you to awaken that inner guide within you. Once you pause, then ponder. Observe, notice, inspect, explore, examine, deliberate, contemplate what's going on inside of you. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are your body sensations? Pondering allows you to notice and observe things that you would have overlooked without the conscious exploration. Pondering allows you to pick on the subtleties during interactions, such as, someone says something to you, and that left you thinking, I'm an idiot, feeling incompetent, and producing a knot in your stomach. The thoughts, the feelings, the body sensations. As you ponder, I want you to identify those thoughts and feelings and sensations. Name them, label them. Get used to noticing the subtle difference between anger, annoyance, and irritation. Feel the fear in the pit of your stomach and pay attention to how that's very different than the excitement in your belly. Examine the thought to find the opinion, the judgment, or the assumption within it, because we are judgment-making machines. So that's step 2, ponder. Step 3, pivot. We live in a world of so many different perspectives and viewpoints and possibilities and opinions. There is not only one way to see things, but that's what we get challenged with, is tunnel vision. Pausing allows us to notice what's been going on both around us and inside us. Pondering is getting curious about those thoughts, feelings, and sensations. This pivot piece is now turning. It's shifting the way we see challenges, a project, another person, or ourselves. It's changing our perspective. To change what you're thinking, start asking yourself some of the following questions. Is this getting me where I want to go? How else could I look at this problem, person, or project? What is one way of seeing this differently? What would help me move forward on this? And where can I ask for help? Pivoting allows you to get from where you are now, which is often stuck and lacking confidence, to where you want to be. And then that last step is often the hardest. It's proceeding. Confident people continue to move forward despite challenges. That level of confidence comes from mastering their thoughts when things get rough. Managing what you're thinking is easier when you connect to that inner wisdom. And as you connect to that inner wisdom, you may have realized that you need to engage in an awkward conversation, send a controversial email, take the next big step. All of those can be pretty uncomfortable. That discomfort can paralyze us, and we freeze not wanting to go on to the next step, even if we know it's the right thing to do. It feels safer to stay in that comfort zone, which we already talked about isn't really that comfortable. So we have to proceed forward. We have to do the uncomfortable thing. Say you're sorry. set the boundary, apply on the job, cut the program, make the call, right? It's back to that courage piece. Don't wait for confidence. Move forward with courage, because when you do, you will step into your zone of potential. So if you want to know more about that whole inner guidance cycle and accessing your inner wisdom, you can find the details in my book, Mastering Confidence, Discover Your Leadership Potential by Awakening Your Inner Guidance System. And it's found on Amazon, and the ladies are going to put the link in the chat box for you in a little bit. And just a reminder, there's a link also for the visual summary that their ladies are also going to put in the chat box. Confidence is that belief in yourself and what you can do. It's about trust and faith and believing in the skills and talents you have to offer, in your ability to learn more, and in your potential. And it comes from in your head and in your heart. Confidence is not what other people think. Confidence is what you believe. And when you start to change what's going on inside of your head and your heart, you're going to connect to that inner power. Remember, awaken your inner guide, and you're going to boost your confidence. And that's all, Marina.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kathy. I feel more confident already. I don't know about everybody else.
You must have been power posing.
What a wonderful presentation. And I think we'll jump right into questions because we do have a few here, and I want to make sure that we can cover as many as possible. So let's dive right in. So here's one that I think a lot of people will be familiar with. So our participant says they find it challenging to speak in large groups, even on subject matter that they're familiar with. Can you provide a few tips maybe on how to start getting a little bit more courageous on that?
Yeah, public speaking is one that's really difficult for a lot of people. Honestly, I wish that I had joined Toastmasters before I left my position as a leader. I am an active Toastmaster, and so every single week I am practicing getting up and speaking in front of other people. And so that's the catch, is look for opportunities to practice. And so it might be just starting really small at staff meeting, just pushing through that discomfort and voicing your opinion at staff meeting. It might be then volunteering to, lead a part of staff meeting. Perhaps it's outside when you're in the community and you're, asked to sit on a board and you really don't want to, but you have lots to say, then jump in and do it. It really is the practice of doing more. And those people that come to Toastmasters will tell you, and we like to watch them, it's hilarious. They come in scared stiff, and within 2 or 3 weeks, there's a dramatic shift. Because the minute they did it, it wasn't so scary, right? So it's getting out and doing it. And yeah, it's a familiar place. And again, it's one of the things when we come back to competence. We have never been taught how to speak in public. It's the same as the bus driver has never been taught how to discipline the kids on the bus. That's why all chaos breaks loose, right? If you've never learned the skill of public speaking, how to pause, how to craft your message, how to, enunciate and things like that, then you're not sure you're doing it well. And so the competence and the practice.
Wonderful. Now, Kathy, could you repeat the 4 confidence hacks that you went over? We had a couple of people asking just for a quick repeat of that because they missed 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop back to that slide so that you can see them. Where did it go? Right there. Okay, so know you can, which is around the competence. Believe you can, which is your mindset. Act like you can, which is the courage. And then stand like you can, which is that power posing before you go into a difficult situation.
Fantastic. So we'll just leave that slide up there for a few minutes so that people can take some notes. So, okay, so moving on, maybe you could speak to imposter syndrome in the workplace. We've had a number of questions about that.
Yes, absolutely. Imposter syndrome is when you feel like you are in a position that perhaps you shouldn't be in, and that at some point somebody's going to find you out. And what we've realized now, the research has shown that so many people feel like this. You wouldn't even believe that people who are in amazing positions and they feel this way. Part of what that feeling is, again, is coming back to that fear that somebody's going to find you out. I go back to the whole story about me not knowing how to order wine. I mean, I was shaking, literally shaking, sitting there at the table waiting for somebody to realize I had no idea what I was doing, and for somebody to say, oh my God, we can't have her at the business table. She doesn't even know how to do that. And that's what it is. So again, it's coming back to that inner thoughts around, can I do this? Well, sure I can. I may need to learn some things. I may need to, increase some skills in some areas, but yes, I can do it. And so taking those thoughts that say, I'm in the wrong spot, somebody's going to find me out, I don't think I can do this, and stepping back at a place where you are calmer and reevaluating those thoughts. How much truth is there to that? How much is accurate in that I can't do it? And if that's the case, can I still learn how, or can I get help? And how much really isn't true? I mean, we just make up stories all the time in our heads that aren't true. We constantly are saying things like, I can't do this. Sure we can. It's going to take some work, and we might have to ask for help, and it's going to take some time, but sure we can do it. And it's just shifting those thoughts. But it takes work, not going to lie.
That's for sure. And on that same note, Kathy, do you have any tips for, when you're in the midst of a stressful situation and you want to, as Rob says, turn up the volume on positive internal voices and turn down the volume on the negative voices? Any tips on how to do that kind of when you're right in the midst of a stressful situation?
Absolutely. Take a deep breath. That is the number one way to do it. If you're in the middle of a meeting, if you're in the middle of a conversation, they don't need to see you do the right? I'm talking about like just a real solid deep breath. And it may mean that you pause before you say what you need to say or answer the question that somebody's asked you. But that act of taking a deep breath, and when I'm talking deep breath, I'm talking about bringing it all the way down from your diaphragm, all the way down to your belly button and into your toes. We spend a lot of our time in shallow breathing, and when we're shallow breathing, that creates the stress response in our bodies. And so we're releasing those hormones that say, danger, danger, right? We don't want to do that. We want to trick the body in many ways to release those hormones that are going to settle us down. And so that's that deep breath. So taking that deep breath in the moment is incredibly important. And the other thing you can do is do something to bring yourself back to the present moment. Basically, when we're in that conversation or in that tough situation, we're probably either in the future or in the past. We are thinking about what we want to say to respond to them, or we're terrified what's going to happen after this. If you're sitting in a situation and you're worried you're going to lose your job, or you're worried you're going to be disciplined, or you're worried you want to reach across the table and strangle them, you're probably thinking about, oh my God, if all of those things happen, I'm going to, not be able to make the truck payment, and my wife's going to leave me. And our minds just go nuts in a matter of a blink of a second. And so you have to bring yourself back to the now moment. Touch your hands. Put your hand to your heart. Play with your necklace. Rub your watch. Do something that physically in that moment brings you back to the present moment. And then take your deep breath. But come back to the now. It's because our thoughts are all jumbled and mixed and racing all over that we're feeling that stress response. And so when we come back to now and we can bring ourselves back to, oh my God, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling lacking confidence, we can get better handle on those thoughts, roll our shoulders back, pull our chin up, stick our chest out, and have those hormones start to remind us to be more confident.
Wonderful. And here's a question, a situation that throws a lot of people off on their confidence levels, which is job interviews.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions on sort of how to power up before a job interview?
Yeah, absolutely. Comes back to, again, practice. So find a friend or a colleague that you can practice with ahead of time. If possible, to answer some of the questions, write out, we know the typical questions we're going to get asked in a job interview, although some people are pretty creative and ask some wild ones, which is part of life. But prepare as much as you can so that you can feel more confident in answering those. If you don't have somebody you can ask, or you're not comfortable asking somebody, most of us have a good old smartphone. record yourself and then watch yourself back. You'll just learn so much about how you're answering those questions or where you fumbled and all of those kinds of things. But practice before going in, write it out so that you know what you want to say. And I'll go back to, I have to put a plug in for Toastmasters again, just because I think it's incredibly important. People often think that Toastmasters is about prepared speeches. One of the things we do in Toastmasters is we do this thing called table topics, which teaches us to think on our feet. And again, I come back to my challenge in networking. That's often the place that I find many of us struggle. It's when we're not prepared to answer the question. It's sometimes different, although not always, but sometimes different when you know the situation you get into and you're prepared for it. It's a whole different ball of wax when a question comes to you out of left field. And that's one of the things we've done in Toastmasters is we teach people, you know, to just relax and learn how to answer those questions in the moment, to think on your feet. So it comes back to that. Practice, practice, practice as much as you can. If you only do a job interview once every 10 years, you're probably not going to be very good at them. That's just the truth. But think about where else can I practice similar skills that I might have to pull into a job interview. So again, maybe that's, you know, you join the local group at the library, so you just happen to be in networking situations more often, and you're, you know, having to answer questions more often. Maybe you go to the gym and you know, have to have more conversations there, and you push yourself into just striking up conversations with people. The trick is to find places to practice the skills.
Wonderful. And on the flip side, now maybe you've been in a situation where you've been let go from a job, or perhaps you're returning to work after a lengthy sick leave. You're feeling kind of at a bit of a low point in your confidence level. You've had a bit of a blow. Do you have tips on sort of building that back up?
Well, shortly after the staff brought the union in and all hell broke loose, I struggled a lot. And I ended up getting depressed, and I ended up going on antidepressants, and I ended up taking several weeks off work on stress leave. And let me tell you, I did not want to go back to work. I did not want to face those people. I did not want to deal with it. That was the time when I started to get back into becoming physically fit. And so what I would do is I would take my lunch breaks, and I would head over to the, is Curves still around? Does anybody know Curves? You know, they had the circuit training. Yeah. So I would go do the circuit training at lunch. Now again, at the time I didn't realize it, but what I was doing was I was releasing those endorphins in me, and I was shifting my body posture, right? So that I was helping myself deal with those situations. So think about how you can literally practice standing taller. Literally practice, you know, I mean, that's part, lifting weights, doing yoga, whatever it is you do to change your body posture, that helps you to stand up taller. Practice those times when you know that there's going to be difficult conversations. The other trick that I will tell you that I think is one of the most important things that we need to do in the world these days is practice mindfulness. The more we can practice mindfulness, and that might be meditation for some people, but there's other ways of being mindful as well, the better we're able to connect with those thoughts and those feelings and those body sensations that are going on with us and get control of them before they control us. And that's where we lack confidence. It's when our emotions are controlling us. We need to be the one in control. We need to be choosing our response rather than frantically reacting to whatever's thrown at us. And we do that by becoming more mindful of what's going on. Oh, my stomach's getting, you know, queasy. My face is getting red. You know, I have the urge to pull and duck and run. It's when we can become aware of those that we can move through them. And that takes an incredible amount of mindfulness.
And that might be another entire webinar topic on its
Yeah, no kidding.
For sure. Yeah, so important. Okay, so just a couple more questions. Something that might be holding some folks back from working on their confidence levels is a fear that it may be perceived by the outside world as ambition or arrogance or perhaps aggressiveness. Do you have some thoughts about that?
It's a fine balance. Yes, I have struggled with arrogance over time, and it's been a note that's been put on my performance appraisal more than once. And so it's something that we do have to check in, and it comes back to, often it comes back to purpose. What's the reason you are learning these new skills? What's the reason you're stepping out and being confident and courageous? If it's all about you, you're probably going to come across as arrogant and cocky. If you're doing that for the good of your program and for the clients that you're working with or for your family, it shifts the way it comes across. And so it comes back to doing some of that inner work, and that's what we're talking about when I'm talking about that inner guidance cycle. You can do that pause, ponder, pivot, proceed in the blink of an eye in the middle of a meeting. You can go, oh, wow, I'm feeling anxious. You know, I need to take a deep breath. Okay, I'm worried that they're going to fire me. The pivot is, they're really not going to fire me. It's just a tough situation we got to work through, right? That can happen in the blink of an eye. That cycle can also happen almost in slow motion behind the scenes, where you're sitting down every morning for, you know, a few weeks, and you're journaling about, what are my values? What's my higher purpose? Why am I in this job at this time for this organization? What's the difference I'm trying to make? What's the legacy I want to leave? When you start to connect to that stuff, you start to feel part of something bigger than you, and it becomes about something bigger than you, not just about yourself looking good. You want to look good, there's no doubt about it, but it's part of a bigger reason. And so I think that's the challenge that many of us have when we come across as that know-it-all or that cocky or, well, you know, she's too big for her britches kind of thing. It's when we're doing it to look good rather than to make an impact. And that impact is the important part about stepping back and doing the bigger reflective work, that pondering piece around, who am I, what am I doing, and why am I doing it?
It's a great distinction, Kathy. Really helpful. So our final question, you know, obviously we were speaking today a lot about professional situations, work situations. Can these tips that you've provided be taken outside of professional work and taken into your personal life, into your family and social life as well?
Yeah, without a doubt. I have 4 children who are all now adults and 2 grandchildren, and I use this stuff every single day. You know, this is life work. This is the piece around showing up in your family, showing up in your church, showing up at the board meeting for your kids hockey team, wherever it is that you are needing to sort of get your message across, to you know, stand firmly. I was at a meeting last night. My youngest daughter is graduating this year, and so, you know, all of these parents at a grad meeting, you can just imagine. And yeah, there's one guy who's arrogant. There's one lady who's, you know, wouldn't stop talking. And then there's a couple who you can just, you know, they share their message and we all stop and listen. And it's those people that have made their difference confidently by sharing their voice into the group. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, but confidently. And so it's that shift. Absolutely. When I have to, you know, have a challenging conversation with a family member, you will likely see me in the bathroom power posing before I go there. You know, in terms of knowing I can, I am all about, you know, learning and reading. I'm addicted to TED Talks and books and, you know, always trying to learn and grow myself. How can I be the best person I am? If I want to have the strongest marriage I can, you'll know that I'm reading books about marriage, right? I want to know that I can do that. So that's, yeah, absolutely. It crosses all parts of life.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. This has been a marvelous presentation, and I want to thank everyone who joined in today with your questions and all the positive feedback that you've submitted. We really appreciate it. Before we sign off today, I do want to remind you all that we will follow up with you by email tomorrow with the webinar recording. The presentation slides will also include the links that Kathy mentioned throughout the session today so that you can access any of those additional resources. We're also going to have a link to a short survey, so if you can take a moment to fill that out, it's really helpful for us, helps us to further refine our content and our delivery in the future. You'll have an opportunity there to let us know if there's any topics you'd like to see covered in a session down the road, so be sure to fill that out. Again, thank you, Kathy. Wonderful presentation today. We appreciate you joining us. And Thank you, and thanks to everyone else. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.